Now, before I get started, I want to explain something because you're perceptive. You pay attention, and things happen around here that I may not pay attention to, but you're going to call me out on it. So, because I know of something, I'm going to share it with you right away. I have some terrible allergies. People don't associate where I live with anything typically other than a frozen tundra. But during the couple weeks of summer that we have, I have a lot of mowing to do. A lot of mowing. I have to mow lawns. I have to mow roads. I have to mow the actual area around the range itself. I have to mow access roads to the range. I have to mow the ranges. And with that comes, I don't know, some ridiculous hay fever or allergies or something. So my eyes are glassy, my throat's a little scratchy. The state of Maine recently legalized recreational marijuana. I can assure you the glassy eyes are because of the hay fever or the allergies. I'm not on the wacky tobacco. So let's take a peek at the Revolution and compare it to the P416. Independence Day 2017. If independence reminds me of anything in particular, it is the Revolution, the American Revolution. So I think today it's only fitting that we're going to discuss the Patriot Ordnance Factory Revolution. So we've looked at the Revolution in multiple videos already. We've looked at what it has for accuracy potential. It does a really good job. We looked at practical accuracy, where all I did is confuse everybody. We looked at the a general comparison to as kind of an overview of it. But today, I want to finally get into the nuts and bolts. Let's look at the internals of the Revolution, the AR-15 size 308, not AR-10 size, AR-15 size with the 308, and let's compare the parts directly to its counterpart. In this case, the little 5.56 POF-USA P416. First, let's take a look at the lower receivers. The Revolution, the 308, is going to be on your right. On the left is the P416, the 223. Now, you can tell at a glance because behind the trigger group in the P416, you can see the auto sear. So that's going to be your immediate giveaway that that is the 223. That's the 416 full auto. Aside from it being a full auto, instead of a P415 semi-auto, everything else is going to remain the same. But look at the pin placement, the takedown pins. The takedown pins line up and are in exactly the same spot. An obvious question is going to be if the takedown pins are in the same area, but the wider magazine for the 308 requires more room than the 5.56, where is that room made up? Because there just isn't physically enough room in a standard receiver design. Let's look at the receivers a little bit closer, and you'll see that the front of the magazine on both calibers is in the same place. They both index in exactly the same place to the rear of the front takedown pin. You'll notice that it extends further. That extra length for the 308 cartridge goes to the rear of the system, not the front of the system. Which is going to bring us to the next question. If the magazine is longer and it comes further back into the receiver, how does the trigger mechanism work to be exactly the same so that the rear takedown pin is in the same place? Let's take a close look at the two receivers side by side, and you're going to see that the relationship with the trigger group and the takedown pin is a little bit different in the 308. It's a little bit more forward towards the muzzle, and that allows the pins, even in an elongated receiver design, to be in the same place. In this case, I think if we look at the receivers from the side, it's going to make a little bit more sense. Now, if you're, especially if you're a full auto person, because this is something that you look for, the auto sear in a full auto is typically right directly above the hole for the selector. And the takedown pin is to the rear of the selector. If you look at the Revolution in comparison to, in this case, the 416, you're going to see that the takedown pin is not directly above the selector, but it's far, far forward of where it typically is in the 223. Or even in the case with the AR-10, everything is scaled the same. So even though it's wider in an AR-10 than it is a 223, that rear takedown pin relationship is going to be the same to the rear as it is in the 223. You'll see the difference really clear here because the takedown pin is almost above the selector switch in the Revolution, and that's where the extra room comes from. So if the Revolution pin placement is different, if it's smaller than a standard AR-10, and it's similar to the 223, the AR-15, or in this case the 415 or 416, obviously the upper receiver is going to be different too. Let's compare those. The pin placement is going to be the same on the uppers as it is on the lowers for them to be compatible. So if you take a look, you'll see that the distance, the space between the front takedown pin and the rear takedown pin on the Revolution, which is at the top, is exactly the same as that on the 416 on the bottom. Now on the lower receivers, as we illustrated, this was done by bringing the magazine, the extra material or the extra length of the magazine to the rear and bringing the controllers a little bit to the front to make up the extra room. Let's take a peek at what happened inside of the upper receivers to also allow this reduction in length. Now the most obvious change here is the reduction in size and in turn in mass to the bolt carrier. We compared it to an original AR-10 type bolt carrier a few videos ago, and I'll put a link to all of these videos in the description down below this one. But here you have a 5.56 bolt carrier from the P416 on the bottom compared with the Revolution bolt carrier on the top. The carrier's OD, the outside dimension, is exactly the same. And that means that the charging handle can be exactly the same. And that is a massive reduction in mass. When they were doing research on these, they found that the AR-10s were built larger originally and then duplicated and replicated for years and years, but it's not really necessary. All of that additional mass doesn't need to be put into the 308 to keep it a reliable and safe platform. There are other ways that you can make it reliable and safe without adding that extra size and weight. And these charging handles aren't only close in size, they're identical in size, which means that they're interchangeable. So now you don't need to look for a special charging handle for your 308 rifle based on that AR-10 platform size where there are a lot less parts available. You can go with the charging handle for the 5.56 platform, and we both know how many parts and accessories are available for that system. Now a lot of people have asked what the benefit is of having a 308 in the AR-15 size platform. And after shooting it several months now, I've got a couple things that are favorites. One, the weight reduction is incredible. It's a rifle that's just over 7 pounds, and you can usually add a few pounds to that and still be in the ballpark for a normal AR-10 or a typical 308 rifle. And I like the lighter rifle, especially for something I'm going to lug around as a hunting rifle. It's fantastic. I also like the parts compatibility. If I want another rail system, if I want another charging handle, if I want any part for the 308, you only had a really small list of places that you could shop because it's not supported. The platform's not supported as much as the 5.56, not even a percentage as much. With the 5.56, there are all kinds of accessories, so those two things are desirable to me. On the rifle range, it's a blast to shoot. It's very, very, very familiar, and it's small and it's lightweight. From the perspective of a hunter, the majority of the walking around the woods I do with a rifle is in the capacity as a hunter. And of course the lighter weight and the shorter system is advantageous for obvious reasons. And I like it for that. Now I'm kind of biased and partial just because it's a POF-USA gun. These were introduced to me as Jeff-proof a long, long time ago. And they've proven several times over that they are. Anything that is cleaning and maintenance optional, that's perfect for me because I'm really, really bad when it comes to that stuff. And these guns just keep going and going and going. The NP3 coatings that they use, the upgrades that they're continuously putting into them, they're not emulating other people's upgrades in the industry. They're creating upgrades like the E-square chamber and the NP3 and the heat sink barrel nut and so many of these things that other people replicate and emulate. So it's kind of exciting because you know when there's a new POF-USA gun coming out, there's going to be something that's absolutely new about it. Frank DeSoma, the proprietor, has never said to me these two words, "Me too." When I'm talking about another gun, he doesn't say "me too." He does things that other people are not doing. And for someone like me, that's exciting in itself. I hope that this has helped lift the shroud of curiosity off this design a little bit. It's been a couple months since I've been able to spend a lot of time out here at the range. I've really been doing more maintenance lately than I am shooting from the hard winter we got. But now it's time to spend a lot of time out here. The Revolution's going to be here a lot with me, and a lot of you have asked questions about it, and I hope that I've thought enough in advance to get to those questions. I appreciate you putting up with my scratchy throat and sinuses today, and I apologize that it's not a longer video, but stick with me. We'll be back again in fighting shape. If you did enjoy this, please click like, share us with your friends in your vast social media universe. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Check us out over on Patreon, where we have a brand new community going on over there. It's kind of interactive and it's a lot of fun. I'm new to it, but I'm happy to learn. And when you do subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell or the notification switch, because evidently they changed at some point, and you don't know when I upload a video unless you specifically ask to be told. How about that? Took a 13-year-old to fill me in that that's what was happening with slower traffic. Until next time, have fun and be safe.